Hey everyone, are your hands too high or too low at address? This simple setup detail could be throwing off your entire golf swing. In this video, I'll show you how to check your hand position and dial it in for better consistency and contact. So smash that like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, comment, and if you're interested in doing some remote coaching with me or would like to become a member of my YouTube channel, you can find all those details in the description below. So whether I'm in a one-on-one lesson or part of a golf school, I often get the question, are my hands too high at address or are my hands too low? Should the handle be up? Should the handle be down? And let's answer that question first, and then we'll kind of dig into why and what does it help and how could it be throwing off my entire golf swing. So as I said, when we set up, we want the hands to be down because it actually creates the first lever in the golf swing, and that is the angle between my forearms and the shaft of the club. You can see they're not on one single plane, and I was thinking about it before the video and kind of went back in my mind through the history of time, and there's only one player that I can think of that doesn't set up this way, that tends to have their arms and the shaft in a straight line, and that would be Bryson DeChambeau. But we kind of all know that everything he does is very unique to him and to his golf swing. So what is most common is to see the handle down, so we create that first lever. Now, how does that throw off my entire golf swing if I'm not doing that? So, as I said, first lever, the angle between the forearms and the shaft at address. Well, the second lever is when, for a lefty, my right arm, which is my lead arm, is parallel to the ground. The club should be at a 90-degree angle. I call it an L position. Obviously, as a lefty, it's a backwards L, but if you're a righty, it'll look like an L when you get in that position. It's that 90-degree angle. Well, when I have the handle down or in the correct position, it, one, facilitates two. Makes it much easier for me to do two. So now I'm going to start more like Bryson, where my arms are in a straight line with the shaft. And now you can see as I take the club back, it's hard for me to hinge that club. My wrists are in a different angle, and it's much harder for me to create lever two. And most of us that are looking for power, when you start eliminating levers in the golf swing, guess what? We're going to start losing power. Now, why does Bryson have so much power? I'm not going to spend time here breaking down his golf swing, but he does things a lot different. He's a late setter of the club, sets it more in transition. So he does those things. He just does them in kind of a different order. And as I said, very unique to him. I don't know that that's a swing that most of us want to copy. So what's a great checkpoint for this? How can I know if my hands are in the right position? What should I be checking for? And what I communicate to my students, which I think is very efficient, is as I set up, I want the butt end of the club to be at my belt buckle. I don't want it to be at my sternum. If it's at my sternum, well, now I look like Bryson. And I certainly don't want it under my body. So you can see if I drew a line out of the back of the club here, it would be underneath my legs, underneath my body. That would be more, if some of you are old enough or know the name Asao Aoki, who was a Japanese player and had his hands very low at address. So there's always outliers, but the majority of the golfers that you see on the PGA, LPGA Tour, they're going to have that first lever, that angle between the forearms and the shaft of the club. Now, here's a little thing, because we can personalize this. So if you're somebody who tends to have their hands a little too high, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you shoot for under your belt buckle a little bit. So the tendency to get away from that handle being high, we're just going to shoot a little on the low side. And if you're somebody who tends to have a lot of forward bend at address and the hands are really low, what we're going to shoot for is a little above the belt buckle, or maybe even your belly button or your navel. So it's a great way to know, a great little checkpoint. Do I have my hands too high? Do I have my hands too low? And start to not ruin my entire golf swing, right? Okay, so let's hit one here. And I'm just going to kind of feel my way through this. And if I come in and, obviously I can see now the butt end of the club is at my sternum. So no, that's way too high. And if I go this way, the butt end of the club is now under my body. That's way too low. But if I can kind of get set in a position that the butt end of the club is pointed right at my belt buckle. Personally, I like the right side of my belt buckle for a lefty, so it'll just give me just ever so slightly 1 or 2 inches of forward shaft lean at address. If you're a right-handed player, what you're going to see is it's going to be at the belt buckle and then pointed kind of at the left side of the belt buckle. Once again, just to give you ever so slightly that little bit of forward shaft lean at address. So let's go through this one more time. Not way too high there. Not way too low there. Okay, that looks good. That's about the right spot. Let's go ahead and hit it. And as I said in my opener, if you get that right, you're going to see better contact and more consistency. So now you're empowered with a great way to check if your hands are too high or too low at address. Use your belt buckle. If you're somebody who tends to have their hands too high, shoot for a little below the belt buckle. If you're somebody who tends to have their hands too low, shoot for a little above the belt buckle. And remember, little bit of forward shaft lean. So if you're a left-hand player, kind of favor the right-hand side of the belt buckle. And if you're a right-handed player, just favor the left side of the belt buckle. And I guarantee you're going to see some better ball striking. So remember, please like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and comment.